For 2024, KIC Housing is estimated to receive $1.252,853 million. For that, we are going to obligate for housing management services, $520,000, admin and planning, $215,000, home improvement, $80,000, home buy-down grants, $99,000, elders energy assistance, $42,000. Janice Williams, you can tell your sister that we still have elder energy assistance available. Emergency home repair, rebuild, $40,000. Homeowners assistance, $40,000. Rental deposit, energy assistance, $80,000. Student housing vouchers, $40,000. Home safety fire program, $8,000. Emergency hotel assistance, $40,000. CNI HITS, which is the navigation center, $20,000. And the permanent supportive housing project called Igayajuan, $27,000.
Myrna,
yes.
Is that in here?
No, and what she asked is if the amount that we just, I just read is in the housing survey on the paper, and that is just a tribal survey. So these amounts, once they're approved and gone through Tribal Council and HUD, and it's been accepted, then we'll go ahead and make that available.
Okay, and they'll do that with the income limits too?
Yes, we will, yes. And she was just asking about the income limits, if we'll have that available and informational available and ready. And yes, we will. There is a pamphlet that KIC Housing mailed out, I believe, 2 years ago. And it was a great pamphlet that listed all our programs, and that's what we intend to do again this year. And Gloria?
Could you explain the process? You said that when it gets approved, so this is a proposed budget that you'll change based upon comments made here and things at Tribal Council. Could you explain that to everybody?
So this is our public comment. It's required. We want to present it. We want to be as transparent as possible to our tribal members, tribal citizens. We will then present it to Tribal Council at the November meeting, and after approval, then we submit online to HUD. So with comments that we received tonight, we will take that all into consideration, and we are writing the comments down. We're capturing comments. We're capturing questions. We will take all that documentation and let Tribal Council at the meeting know of what comments were made. Yes, Willard?
We have a veterans housing up on Woodland, and I don't see it on the board. But I also live in a veterans housing up in Carolina. Bonnie put me in. Are we going to be? Are we going to have an opportunity to discuss anything about in regards to the veterans side of it now?
So Willard Jackson has asked that we do have a veterans unit that KIC owns. We have 3 units, and it isn't on the board. But all of our units that we own, the 37, are captured in the housing management services. So that's the area that you would find it. Also, he also asked if we were going to talk about veterans tonight. So veterans housing is something that is on our list. It is on our strategic objectives. It's not something that I was prepared to talk to you about tonight, but I can touch on a few funding opportunities that I learned about. I can touch on a few of the programs that are available, like VASH vouchers. And we can talk about that, yes.
When I was on Tribal Council back in 1910, we created a veterans program. We had an office in KIC. We've helped veterans, and some of you, your family members came in, we got in the Anchorage. There's a capability of doing this. I'm talking about the street people, veterans. We as Native people, and I'm talking about Haida people, Clinker people, Simpson, and others from out of state. We're a unit that loves our children. We'll do anything to put them in our home. At this moment, I have 3 living in my home. And I'm not the only one. I'm not the only one. The structure with dollars is good, but what can you do to help a family that's striving to take care of their kids a little better, or their grandchildren, or their great-grandchildren?
So what Willard Jackson is commenting and asking is what we're planning on doing for multi-generational housing for grandparents who are struggling with raising their grandchildren and great-grandchildren, and what our plan is for that. And I do want to point out, I do want to say right now that multi-generational housing is one of our strategic objectives. It is something that we're working on right now. We have received comment, and we do know that it's a concern of tribal citizens, but the model behind it, there is no clear model. There's no multi-generational model that you can Google and then follow that plan. So it would be creative ideas coming from our own citizenship of what we would want. So that's actually probably going to have to be a separate workshop to gather and capture the tribal citizenship and the tribal members of what they see, what that envisions. I heard a comment earlier today, this evening, that they would like to see an entire area of just multi-generational housing. That way the tribal citizens that are living there are surrounded by the same population, by other grandparents who are raising their children. Willard, was that your final?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. And Marie, I know you were next with a question or a comment.
Yeah, my name is Marie Lloyd. I wanted to see if the elders program, I wanted to find out if that's going to be covering, because I am now a homeowner. My husband passed away, so the mother was living.
Hold on one second.
And when I see
Why do we have?
Music.
Can you talk?
like I said, I am a homeowner.
See?
Is it through her computer? Is it her computer?
No, it's
Hey.
So who's here first?
Okay.
Yeah, and I don't think we can just keep that off and it still works.
Okay.
Thank you, John.
But you're-
Apologies. There's always going to be IT issues.
Like I said, my name is Marie Lloyd. I am a homeowner. My husband had passed away like 4 years ago, so the condo is in my name. I'm on disability, so if I need help, they go underneath the. If I need help, would go underneath the elderly assistance, because all through the pandemic, I was unable to get help because it says that on the homeowner, it didn't fall underneath rent, it didn't fall underneath our mortgage. So basically, the whole 2 years I struggled with.
So what Marie's asking is that what if she owns a condo, and what if she needs assistance, where she would fall under?
Like I said, you think owning a home would be easy, but the condo fees are now up to $700.
Wow.
So basically, it would be through the homeowner's assistance. Excuse me, just let me see if there's another mic. It seems seems to want to work when I stay here, so I'm just going to stay around this area. Okay, so. It's dying.
Is it the battery?
See, Glory had to talk.
That's good.
Okay, I picked up a new one. Okay, so that particular, like for that would fall under the homeowner's assistance. So that is able to help out with mortgage or energy, and that's available 4 times a year.
See, that's where the big problem was, the condo fees did not come underneath mortgage, and it would not underneath rent, so I seem like it fell through the cracks.
I believe condo fees do fall under the mortgage, our homeowner's assistance program.
They haven't accepted, because I've applied for 2 years, and it always says that they're very specific, it says it does not fall underneath.
It's not the COVID fund.
They don't cover HOA.
So Marie, I think we need to talk after and maybe meet up with Sherry. Sherry Blair is our receptionist, housing up in the front. Also, I do want to recognize our, Sherry is our intake specialist, Sherry Blair. Also, Dolly Kita is our receptionist. We have Melissa O'Brien here as our project development coordinator. And if we could go ahead and have you talk to them about that program and what you're qualified for.
So, here.
Yes, Gloria.
So my recommendation would be is to write on your comment sheet that you'd like the policy to change to include condo fees. I think the specific issue you're having is the program that was run via COVID, that was run through a separate department that had separate rules. And when they wrote their policy, they tried to write their policy so that it would include condo fees. And so that's why it's important to get together, because it's an entirely different program that they're making based upon different funds, and because there was a need. And so it's a different fund, but it's only 4 times a year, and it's very specific.
Yes.
My name is Terry Teal, and I'm an elder, but I'm speaking on the behalf of my aunt, who's 10 years older than I am. And it concerns existing elder housing. And I'm only speaking because now we have a group, but they do not allow emotional support animals. When you're 80 years old and you're all alone, and my aunt is a clean freak, I mean spotless, and she can't even get on the list because she can't live by herself without her. That's the only person she has. Our lifestyles are so busy that none of us, I mean not none of us, but we can't get to visit her as often as we would like. I'm raising 2 grandkids, her kids are all busy. So elders need that emotional support animal. And we need to have compassion for our elders, and there's no reason why we can't get that into a policy to where they can pay a deposit, but they should be allowed their support animals. The state does it. She had to move into Seaview Terrace, which is very, very small, and it's not just for seniors, so she has to put up with invalids, which I have no problem with invalids, but it's hard when you have to be in that environment with a lot of disabled people, because she's a clean freak. And there's no reason why us as natives can't have our support animals, especially when she's going to be 81, you know. We've got to have compassion and start thinking outside of the box.
Okay, thank you, Terry. So her comment was that she would like to see policy change for our housing, our current housing policies for allowing emotional support animals. And we've written down your comment, and we will definitely be bringing this forward. So thank you for that comment. And we'll move on. Housing management services. So now we'll go over each program of the budget and what all it entails. So the housing management services, $520,000, $853. We operate 37 affordable rental housing units for tribal members. We have 12 1- and 2-bedroom units at the Elders. We have the Veterans, that's 3 1-bedroom units. Upper Jackson, we call a 7-plex. Those are seven 1- and 2-bedroom units. At Buren, we own 4 2-bedroom units. Woodland, we have 1 3-bedroom and 2. We have 1 3-bedroom and it's actually 1 2-bedroom. And then we have a duplex on Woodland as well that has 2 2-bedrooms. Bear Valley, we have 5 3-bedrooms and 1 4-bedroom. And Warren Street, we have 1 bedroom. So this budget right here maintains these properties. It pays for the staff to maintain these properties. It pretty much is our biggest budget that we utilize, and it keeps the operations going for our rental units, our affordable rental units that we have. Yes, Willard?
The Jackson Street project was a joint venture by KIC and Clinton Hyde. I was on the council. Norman then at the time was the president, and I was the secretary. Up on doing that job, we opened it up just before Christmas. And doing that, we're taking low-income housing. And when we went that route, when Saxon was putting their last phase of their housing out in the village, my son was getting a house out there. And he had to go to a class. Social services moved in to help with that structure of low-income housing. Because when you go to the bottom of the pole, you just don't know what you're going to get going into them homes. Not saying anything bad, just trying to set this tribe up for a good thing in the future. Saying that, less than 6 months later, a lot of those young people had to be moved. We had a police officer up there. That's how bad it was. So saying that, I know $500,000 is not much money when it comes to housing. And stretching it out across this map is a good thing, though. It's a good thing. I told you earlier when we talked about this, if KIC Housing is going to go in for money from the federal government, just don't ask for the building. Ask for the first year cost of running that building, so you get that money back the following year. We have to build ourselves and structure ourselves where we can get more money from the federal government. Thank you.
Thank you. And that Willard Jackson just mentioned that him and I had talked about this earlier. Just with our housing units that we have, we really need to be implementing services that go along with those housing. We need to be working with our tribal members and our tenants to work on how becoming more self-sufficient in your units. He also mentioned that when we're applying for funding that we need to ask more than just the capital cost and get into operational costs for the year. Thank you for your comments, Willard. Yes, Christy.
I was gonna say, I know you guys just bought a house, I can't remember if it's on 2nd or 3rd Avenue. Is that gonna go into housing too?
So that's actually IHS funding and part of the clinic, because they do have to, and I'm not as familiar with IHS and their operations, but they do, because of the need for our clinic staff. And yes, absolutely. Yes. Hi, Norman.
Thank you, Ms. Cheney. For those of you who don't know, my name is Norman Ariola. I was a council on the council for 20 years, president for 6 years. But looking at some of what's been presented to us on the screen, it's the same issues we talked about over 15 years ago. Now, we identified homeless as anybody sleeping on their mother's couch or their grandmother's, aunties or uncles, brothers or sisters, nieces or nephews. That's what we consider homeless. And it doesn't surprise me that we still got a lot of our people out there that are sleeping on our relatives' couch. Now, I worked 14 years on port, and 7 days a week, working weekends. I find a lot of our tribal members sleeping on the docks, right there where Sockeye Sand is. They used to have benches there, but they took them out. They used to have benches on Dock Street, Dock and Bottom. They took those out because our people were sleeping on those benches during the summer months when there's much more. We had a hot summer this past year. And now that those benches are gone, they're back down on the docks, on the benches down there. And I got pictures, but I'm not going to show them. And I haven't showed them to anybody yet. But I will show them to our housing director and let them know that we still have a lot of our people out there sleeping on the streets. And granted, KFC is trying to do everything they can to assist those people to get them sleeping bags or warmer clothing to deal with the cold weather that's starting to set in. And although KIC has come a long way in assisting our tribal members, the homeless, the program is getting better. But like my acquainted brother Willard Jackson said, although there's some money, more money coming in, there's not enough. How much is not enough? It takes a lot of people. Now we also have the city and the borough. They're talking about the housing shortage on this island. We all need three governing bodies to get together and sit down and discuss how can we better help not only just the non-natives, but there's also non-natives out there that are homeless. But where they come from, I do not know. But I know some of them are coming from the lower 48 because those states like Seattle, California, Oregon, they're sending those people, are buying them one-way tickets wherever they want to go. And they're sending them to Alaska. Thank you.
Thank you, Norman. And Norman was just commenting on Ketchikan's problem and our situation of dealing with unhoused population and how we have not gotten any better, and we need solutions for that. I think, oh yes, Valerie.
I heard recently when, I believe it was, my name is Valerie Stanley. I'm a member of KIC. Fortunately, I'm not homeless. I have had other struggles, but there was a woman called Judy Zangi. She was elected again to the city council, I believe. She said in her speech to get elected that finding housing or finding solutions for the homeless issues here in Ketchikan, one of her statements is, maybe we should join forces, the city council, if I'm elected. We should join forces with KIC because KIC seems to be having some success in building housing for some of their people. So maybe that was her election talking, but maybe she's on the council again. Maybe our council should reach out to her and maybe she could put her money where her mouth is, you know, because we have. I don't know if that's a lot of things that we've done. And I know we volunteer at whatever services, and he's true. What he says, any early morning, I drove the borough bus, any early morning you can go by, even the museum, they put all those beautiful gates up down there, and you just go down there and it's just lined with bodies, it's lined with people. You go down to the museum, I got kids that their parents have to drive them to school, they live in this neighborhood. They live in this neighborhood. They can't even let their children go down and catch the bus at the museum bus stop because it's full of people camping from the night before or other people who are indulging in substances or poor choices or whatever they're doing. They're there and our children cannot catch the bus to get to school. You're free to go look, you know. So it's not just a homeless problem. It's not just a native problem. It's a whole citywide problem. We're not. We need to, you know, we all need to start looking at that. It's not just a housing problem. It's more than that problem. It's a way more than that problem. It's way more than your aunties or your uncles or people sleeping on your couches. They're sleeping in your cars. They're breaking into your cars. You know, there's so much more to it than housing, and we need to start looking at that. Thank you.
Thank you, Valerie. And kind of to sum up a little bit of what you said, just bringing up partnerships with the city of Ketchikan. I think that's a great idea, but also I just wanted to mention that we know that the city of Ketchikan did create and are funding a position, a homeless coordinator. So this is actually great news for us. We are really, really happy to hear about that position. What that person is going to do is they're going to basically gather, group, and organize. So right now, nonprofits in Ketchikan, if they're addressing homelessness, if they're addressing housing, are doing it on top of their 8 to 5. They're doing it in their spare time. There are people who care, and there are people who are trying to come up with solutions. Right now, there was a position that has been created, and it's being funded, I believe, by even Alaska Mental Health Trust is funding it. And they're going to centralize and locate and organize Ketchikan. So nonprofits aren't applying for the same funding. So we have goals, so we have a plan. So we're talking to each other. And I know our housing department was thrilled to learn of that position that's being funded, that I believe is their job description was getting completed and was going to go out to an RFP from the city. And we're really looking forward to that position being filled.
But we need to go. We need to start acting. We need to quit hiring positions. Everybody knows the statistics and all this stuff. We all know all that stuff. We already know all that stuff. We need to start taking action. If Norm is talking that this was 14, 15 years ago, we need to start taking action. We need to take that money and put it into action. We need to get a lot. We need to start building something. We need to start taking action. We can talk about it for another 15 years. We need to stop talking and taking action. That's what I think. That's where this is where the rubber meets the road. We need to start taking action.
And I absolutely, our housing department, our tribal council, everyone that we've talked to has definitely agreed with your sentiments, Valerie. Thank you. I believe I had Norman Areola next. Were you? No.
Excuse us. On your presentation there, you mentioned the galley. And a couple months ago, I read an article with interest about the city of Ketchikan said that they're addressing the homeless issue. I don't know about the borough, I'm sure they are. But the comment made was that KIC is trying to rebuild that building as fast as they can. Well, when I first heard about KIC buying the galley, the comment made was that they were going to tear it down completely. And it's going to cost over $1 million to rebuild it because you want to put in a center where they're going to be able to wash clothes, have a place to sit down and stay warm, and they're going to have food provided for them. And like I said, and I'll continue to say this, we cannot do that on our own. We have to have assistance. And I'm glad to hear you stand there, Myrna, and say that you're working and talking with the city. I think what the borough, along with the city council and KIC, is get 2 members of each governing board and have a committee and start addressing some of the concerns that we have, that you've made on this board here. And I think there's a lot of good ideas there. And I'm glad to see more money coming in, because as time has moved on, that program is growing in leaps and bounds. But there's just not enough money, because last I heard there was over 6,800 enrolled tribal members, and I'm sure there's a heck of a lot more than that now since the door was open, the floodgates were open. Have anybody that has native blood in them to come and enroll in our tribe. Thank you.
So Norman's comment was just that he really would like to see that city partnership, that he would like to see a committee specifically focused with that governing communication and partnership to see progress. I also have Christy and then Clarence, but Gloria, Housing Chair, also wanted to say something really quick.
Yeah, I was just going to point out that we receive our funds through NAHASDA, which has not been reauthorized. So any increase that we get in funding to build things comes through NAHASDA, and if there is a sequestration, then we don't get that. So one of the things is they cap the amount of money. So we had intended budgets, but the NAHASDA program, which is essentially the Indian housing portion of the federal government, has not been reauthorized in years. And so, you know, the tribe is attempting to get it reauthorized so that there's an additional money to go ahead and pay for this. And I think, there's some conversations around solutions for homeless and multi-generational housing, which they have a presentation for after the budget. But according to the Indian Housing Plan, they were required by law to go over their budgets in this meeting, and they've got some really great solutions that they would like to present, but they don't get to present them until they finish the stuff that they have to do by law so that they can report it. So really great, interesting, fun things that you guys will be excited about.
But the good news is we've gotten through three slides so far, so congratulations to us. Christy, you had a
I was
question?
just going to say that you guys have got the galley that you guys are working on to do for the homeless, and your plan to build 3 stories or whatever it is behind it for housing. So.
Yes, and we are going to go over that in the presentation. So I bet. And once we get there, I can talk about that in further detail. Also, Clarence Peel was next.
I just wanted to make a comment that we are only at the start, so none of the information that is being presented yet has, there is a lot that is going on that you guys are doing, so if we could help that part, because it's a lot.
Thank you, Clarence. There's a comment in the back.
Yeah, I've been on the list for umpteen years, and I've been waiting to rent a place. They never have a place. Are them available?
All of our units currently are filled right now. Yes. And yeah, no, they're not available right now.
Are they going to have any?
People get in our units
So
and die there.
there is a waiting list like you're on right now, and we don't determine how long someone is going to be living in our unit for. So we really don't have a good way of answering when you'll be able to move in, because there's no time limit for how long someone can live in the unit.
Are they going to go through the list? Do they go through the list once a year, or do they go through it all?
We do go through the list. In policy, it does say we go through it once a year, and we send out a letter inquiring if you still want to be on the list. If we don't hear anything back from you in 10 days, then we take you off of the list. We actually do not follow that policy because there are so many times when people move away, they did not get the letter. When people they just did not get the letter. So we don't take people off of the list right now until we talk to you or you come into the office and ask to be removed. So if we call someone and find out that you've moved out of Ketchikan or that you've secured other housing and you want to be taken off the list, we won't remove anybody until that happens.
Oh yeah, I've been on there since 2012, 2013. I've never got a call, but I always go up to check to see if they have any, but they never do. How come?
Well, it would just go based off of our vacancies and where you are on the list, but maybe you can meet with Sherry Blair and find out and just update your waiting list information so we have everything current, and just so she can get your current information, like if we have your accurate phone number or home address right now.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. So, I think now would be a good time for a door prize. I just wanted to take a moment to introduce also our tribal council members that we have in attendance tonight. We have Lloyd Barrero, tribal council member. Carrie James.
Carrie Johnson.
I'm so sorry, Carrie Johnson. I apologize for that.
Pebbles.
Pebbles, Rochelle Hull. Norman Scan, President. Gianna Willard. And also Gloria Burns, Housing Chair. Thank you. So first be raffling off a A&P gift card for $150. And I am not choosing that. We shall ask Gloria to.
No, I will not choose that either.
We'll have Misha do it.
All right, Avery Booth. Avery, woo! And I believe you're going to see Sherry and the friends to go ahead and collect your door prize. We're also going to do a heater, a space heater that we have, and maybe you can get Norman's scan to drop for you, Dolly. And we have a heater that is going to Rick Watts.
Oh, Rick.
Rick
Rick?
Rick Watts.
Is there a Rick Watts?
Oh, that's over there. Congratulations. That was a heater? Yes, that was a heater. Okay, so we're moving on next to, I believe it's going to be housing, planning, and admin. So administration and planning, the annual budget is $215,200. This budget does support 1.5 full-time employee. We use this program with professional dollars to really go after other grants and other funding and the planning of current existing parcels of land that we do have right now. So if we want to hire a grant writer to help us go after additional funds, or if we need an architect to help design a parcel of land that we have, then we would utilize this budget for it. Okay, so next we're at the Navigation Center. This we do call Sinahit. Sinahit in the Tlingit language means a place of light in darkness. It means a lighthouse. It is basically a beacon of light for people who are lost. So the Sinahit Navigation Center, and this is in the planning phase. This is the building that earlier our tribal citizens were referring to as the galley. So this building is formerly known as the galley. It is a restaurant, and KIC purchased it in last year using IHBG ARPA funds. We purchased it with the intention of building a place for our unsheltered population to be able to take showers, wash clothes, find something to eat. That plan has grown. We do want to offer services in this unit. That is an important part of our unsheltered homeless population, is being able to offer those services. We are in partnership or in discussion with talking to other agencies about what services they could provide in Sinahit. We're in discussion with our own departments of what services could be provided in our Sinahit. We also would like to have food services. We are continuing conversation with both First City Homeless Shelter and Park Avenue Temporary Homes to make sure that we're in collaboration. We're not duplicating services, and we are offering what our people truly need. The intention of Sinahit would not be open to only tribal members, but rather to all community members in Ketchikan. Norman, I believe you had a question. Oh, Willard, you had a question?
Hit is a Tlingit word meaning house. All tribes in Southeast Alaska and their longhouses were built in layers. There was no such thing as homeless. We didn't have homeless then. and no one went without eating then. No one was asked to leave the village then, but we're doing it today. I, myself, when it comes to talking about people on the street, I never made it that far. But I was definitely a heavy user of cocaine, and that got me in a lot of trouble in my lifetime. I've been 33 years of sobriety, and I'll help anybody on the street. I'll help anyone on the street in concerning this piece of real estate we're talking about now. We're talking about the homeless people. Well, you and I sat here and had a great meal. Some of them didn't tonight. And some of them were kids. Some of them are actually kids. And they're struggling. I myself, as a parent, a grandparent, and a great-grandparent, worked with Patty Green over a year ago with one of my grandchildren who was struggling with fentanyl. Damn near killed him. I almost lost my son George 2 months ago to fentanyl. I'm not afraid to talk about it. It has to be addressed because that's what's happening on the street. It's happening big time. That pathways may be shut down because of what's going on. They can't control those young kids anymore. They're getting younger going in the pathways. If you happen to stop by there during your day. I know Norman goes by it every day. He sees it. It's happening, and I really appreciate this happening. I'd like the city of Ketchikan to get involved in it. It's something that really needs to happen. You know, there's an old story, and I told the story many times. It was touched me by my grandpa. There's a story of a young lady, young girl. They were meeting like we are now. And they wanted to discuss how they're going to put the tree people on the mountain. This was Feast or Phantom, beginning of time. So they met by the fire, and the grandma came down to sit. And the little girl came with her grandma. And they're discussing how they're going to put these tree people on the mountain. The little girl came up to the grandma. Grandma, I got an answer. Grandma would say, Juk, go away. That's what we're saying to these people. Juk, go away. They sent the first trees up, and the wind brought them down. They came back down to discuss it again. The little girl wouldn't give up on Grandma. Grandma, I got an answer. Grandma would say, Juk, go away. So they sent 4 trees up in the mountain. The wind, the rain, and the snow brought them down. So it came back down again. The little girl would not give up. And I hope KIC doesn't give up. I hope we don't give up. The little girl told Grandma finally give in. She'll let that little girl talk. And this is what the little girl said. She stood up in front of all the clan leaders, tribal leaders, council leaders. And this is what she said. Let's all go up in the mountain with the street people. Let's hold hands so they can firmly grab Mother Earth. Let's hold hands with these people so they can firmly stand on their own. Thank you.
Thank you, Willard. Willard and I had a conversation earlier today also about just holistic healing, traditional healing that we really would want to incorporate into our housing program. And over in the housing program, we absolutely agree. We would love to be able to incorporate that and see our tribal citizens heal from within. Gloria?
Yeah. So, mostly because I want you all to be as excited as I am. So we got ARPA funds, and we could have built a house with it, a very small house in the housing market, or we could buy the property at the galley for a navigation center. And so there are a couple of navigation centers in Anchorage and a variety of areas that help the without home population. And so the vision of the Housing Committee and the Tribal Council was to create something very similar to the Seaman Center, a place where somebody could go at 5 in the morning, have a cup of coffee, maybe with their relative who didn't mind coming and sitting there, having a pancake or something, and being able to get a shower, right? And then being able to get in touch with services, whether or not it was disability or Social Security, with the tribe, with a variety of places. And so there was this conversation about what would it look like. And so we started touring places and thinking about why are our population not utilizing the homeless shelter at the rate that we think they should. And so, you know, part of that was to do the survey, to see what people needed, to get an idea and have a conversation. And so what's kind of fleshed out is this idea that there would be a place that people could shower, that they could go ahead and have a meal, that they would have access to help with education, with alcohol and drug rehabilitation if they chose. So then it became, how do we bill for this? So the Mental Health Trust went ahead and they worked with KIC to do a survey to see how we could continue to fund this so that it wasn't a black hole of, you know, not being able to deal. And so one of the things we can do is we can create a resolution that says that anybody in the unhoused population that is seen at the navigation center, that the money goes back into that space. And so what we would be looking at is telehealth regarding mental health disorder and drug and alcohol, creating groups where, you know, maybe you were doing a drum and you had a conversation, you said, you know what, we would love you to make the drum, but drum is medicine, and while you're under the influence, you can't work on that drum. But come earlier tomorrow and we'll sit with you and we'll help you be sober so that you can work on that drum or that medicine the next day. And so the navigation centers where the galley is the first half of the idea, trying to bring us to our family, the community, so that they have the ability to be clean and sheltered and to live with dignity, right, until something happens. And so we're soliciting ideas, but that's really the intention, is to have a place. And by opening it up to everybody, what we are eligible for is we're eligible for COC funding, which is funding for operations that does not come from the tribe. So we can use this money to go ahead and pay for it on an ongoing basis. And you've received how many grants thus far for this specific? So Myrna has received a certain amount of money just in grants for this project. Can you share what that is?
Thank you, Gloria. Yes, we did receive funding from Alaska Housing Finance Corporation for a program called Stabilization, and that ended up being 75 grants. Those grants were to rapidly rehouse the unsheltered homeless population. Melissa O'Brien, the housing coordinator, the development coordinator, worked very closely on this project, and she has a lot of success stories. But in doing this program, we also came to realize that housing unsheltered homeless population does not work unless there's services and case management to go along with that. And that's where we're at right now. We are not able to just house people unless we can fully commit with them and walk with them on the case management, their struggles, what they are having a hard time with, if it's budgeting, if it's counseling, if they are stressed and have anxiety. We need to have those services that go along with it, and that's what we're working on. Sharon, I believe you had a question?
Well, that's all I was going to say before you gave us all this information is I have got goosebumps. I am excited. I think this is wonderful. This is a step. They've got the building. This isn't just talk. This is happening. I'm just beyond excited.
If anybody's on Facebook, they could go to the Ketchikan Indian Community site, and you can actually go to where the Ketchikan Indian Community page, the clinic page and that, and you could go down to the site that has this center, and they put it out to bid, and it describes the whole entire deal in an 89-page document that you could go in and open up, and you could actually read the contract from KIC, who has put it out to bid to an Anchorage construction company who's taking bids, and it will explain absolutely every single little teeny tiny thing, to every plug-in, to beam, to roof, to support, to every single thing in 89 pages if you choose to read it, like I started. And it will explain all of what's going to happen to the building in the process of getting it ready for the center that they're doing. If you have any questions about it.
Keep up the good work.
Thank you, and thank you, Valerie, as well. Hilaire, did you have a comment or question?
I have a comment. Thank you. Yeah.
Hi, my name is Echo Hawk. Can you hear me? I recently was the village operation manager. I left Alaska for 1 year to go do some work during the COVID era, and I've been in Alaska for about 50 years. And I was the village operation manager for this incredible organization. They have tiny homes from Everett all the way to Bellingham. And I had a staff of 4. And when I left, I was able to hire a Lummi Nation gentleman who's still working there. And so I worked on these 2 projects to address the homeless population. And of course, we had to do all the logistical work prior to that with the surveys and get it all ready. There's funding. If I know KIC is a sovereign nation, but there's funding with this other organization I worked for, which is a non-native organization. So I was there when it was just the ground, and I was there working until the last home, tiny home, was built. And it was built in a circle. As Native people, it was built in a circle, and in the center was like a pavilion where we would get all the participants once a week to go in there, and they would cedar them off, and they would do traditional games, and it was an incredible program. I worked down south a little ways outside of Seattle, and then I asked for a transfer to Bellingham, Washington. And I was there again when it was just earth, and they brought in the tiny homes, and this has been an incredible collaboration because they're not put in there unless there's a wraparound service. I had 2 social workers. They split it up. There were 25 homes. They had 4 homes designated for veterans, and they had homes for people that were in wheelchairs or had a disability. It was kind of on a small level, so the ones that were mobile were down on the, more so on the ground, higher up on the ground, and the ones that had difficulty walking were down below. There was a pavilion that was built, and that's where they ate. And once a day, we contacted every single church in Washington State, and they made commitments. So once a day, about 2 o'clock, I would unlock the gate, and a truck would pull in from all over. And they had hot meals, so they had a hot meal every single day. I just contacted agencies and organizations and stores, and they were getting what they needed as far as coats and boots. And we contacted the employment service with the tribes. They were getting ready, people that were ready to actually get their resumes and look for work. We had a medical team there. There was, as I was leaving, the drugs were coming in as I was leaving. They had to do a Narcan a couple of times for somebody who was ODing. But we were in collaboration with the mayor of Bellingham and with this nonprofit in Seattle, all the churches and all the nonprofits. And so, just briefly, each morning a team, they were called the HOT team, Homeless Operation Team, they would put on their rain gear and their boots, and they would go out into the wilderness up on the Canadian border, all around Bellingham and the surrounding areas, and they would find the encampments. So I asked them one day, because I used to work many, many years with a Native American, Alaska Native, First Nations, veterans, and elders that lived and died on the streets. So I asked them, tell me what's out there. And they said, you know, it's unbelievable how many people are there now. But they said that you could hear the newborn babies crying in those tents. And you could hear children. But they would call them out, and then they would say, we may have a home for you. And they always said, no, you don't. And they said, there's an indigenous woman, and she is the manager, village operation manager, and she asked me to bring you to her. And that always seemed to do the trick for some reason. So they would bring them to me, pack them up, bring them to me. I would do the intake at the office, and 100% of them were eligible. And especially when they would bring me the women were 50, 60, 70, a couple of 80-year-old women. And when I would bring them in, of course, they would have just the clothes that they were wearing. So was everybody else. So I made sure that there were some good clothes there waiting for them. But I would tell the women after doing the intake, let's go. I have a home for you. And I would get the key, and I would walk them to their tiny home, which was 10 by 12. Everything brand new in it, everything that I would hand a key to them, and they would open the door, and they would walk in to this beautiful tiny home. Costs were minimum to build it. And they would sit down and they would weep every time. And they said, every night I pray that I won't be raped or beat up by a man or killed. And I would always tell them, you're safe now. You're in your own locked apartment. Everything you need is here. We will empower you. You have already have an appointment with the social worker. And I'm telling you, it's really functional. I made the mistake of resigning, coming back up to Alaska now. I said, why did I do that? But I'm very pleased to hear that Ketchikan is addressing the homeless population. When I was working with our homeless population, I would go up to the King County Coroner's office and I would ID our people, and I would ensure that their bodies were sent back home. Many of our tribes, of course, couldn't afford to send their loved one home, so I would have them, poor families, give me power of attorney, and then I found a crematory that I could afford, and I would pay it out of my own pocket. And when they would call me, my son, some of you might know him, Johan, my daughter, they were little. We would go up to the crematory and get our veteran and our loved one and take them down to 3rd Avenue in downtown Seattle and send them home in the mail, receipt returned, first class receipt returned. That was the only way to get them home. But so much homelessness is happening and I worked in that field for almost my entire adult life. The people are really many times just a paycheck away from becoming homeless. If one of your spouse becomes ill, you become ill, you lose your job. There's so many things that could happen, and I'm so blessed that we were all born Native people, that we all look after each other as it should be. Thank you.
At a housing conference from Lummi, his name was Nicholas, and he was a part of the sketches. It was pretty amazing at that moment. He's on the National Health Board for the region. He was talking about the different funding sources that they utilize for the Lummi project. They got creative. Him and his team hosted the first fentanyl symposium or conference that was in, I believe, Tulalip this last year. I asked him if he was planning on having another. He is, and he's somebody that we intend on reaching out to. He also mentioned that the Lummi tribe had recently, by resolution, passed a state of emergency for their tribe. The governor that they supported did not support their resolution, but they went ahead and did it anyways because they knew what their tribal citizens needed and what was going on in their community. And it was pretty amazing. He's actually full of ideas, and we definitely intend to reach out to him at the Lummi tribe. So ongoing with Navigation Center, we still are in planning mode. We do have funds that we were awarded by the CIA rule thriving community for planning. We also have funds and alley commissions and funds that are tentatively awarded for construction or rehabilitation. So we are working on applying for funds for this. We are working on partnerships with the agencies in Ketchikan. It is a big priority. It is a big deal for our department and our tribal council and our tribe. So just in continuing on, some of the services that we intend on providing are just having those services of connection and also having a safe place, the laundry, showers, meals, and personal storage space. Right now, we are meeting with behavioral health. We're meeting with KIC Behavioral Health. We're meeting with social services. We meet with the health clinic. We meet with education training. We also meet with Rose City Homeless Shelter, and we meet with PATH, which is Park Avenue Temporary Homes. The home improvement grant annual budget is $80,000. This is a continuing program that we've had for a while. It offers $5,000 grants for home repairs. This program really does come in handy for our homeowners in Ketchikan who, for instance, will have frozen pipes in January, or for a hot water heater to go out, for steps or a door. There's safety issues. So we do have this program, and it's a continuing program, and it's the same budget. Yes, that's correct. You can apply for the home buy down annually once a year. Next, we have the home buy down program. This is also a continuing program that we've had for quite a long time. We offer assistance for down payment assistance for first-time home owners and home buyers. The funding comes as a forgivable grant, meaning after 10 years it's forgivable. But in that 10 years, we do hold a second lien on the property, meaning if you were to sell it in the 8th year, we would get some of the funding back from the sale. Yes, Gloria.
How many homes are currently budgeted for this year?
We will be doing 3 grants, three home buy down awards for 2024. We've also been in a lot of talking and collaboration with Clinton Haida on their program, on ways how we can combine. We also have had a home mortgage class this last year. I believe we had 2. So we're offering those. We're trying to implement more classes, education into our programs. So we are continuing and planning to offer more of those. Yes, Gloria.
I just wanted to say, because this is important, the housing department will add more because it's an line item. Like if they received a bunch of people that wanted the home buy down, they in the past have suggested to go up to 5 or 6. Likewise, when it's not a good year for buying a home and they can't find a good home, it's gone down to 1. So that line item exists, but just they'll help you rehabilitate your credit. But it's important to know that they budget for 3 and they can go upward of there if there are enough people who apply for it. Likewise, if it's not a good environment for buying a home, they'll go down from that and go ahead and rebudget it. So it's something to pay attention to, and it's a really great opportunity for people to get their first home.
Thank you, Gloria. And yes, hi, Tim. So there's no deadline. You want to put your application in with our department, but it is dependent on who's ready first. So you're going to complete your application. You need a pre-approval letter and documentation that you have $2,500 saved. So with the idea of that, if we're requiring you to save up $2,500 that you're contributing, you're going to go and you're going to purchase a home, and you need to put earnest money down. So we'll subtract that from what we want you to bring to the table. Then you are going to have to get an appraisal. That's going to be $800. We'll subtract that. So now you need to just bring to the table $700. And it is based off of who's ready right now. If we award a commitment letter to a tribal citizen, you have about 90 days to find a home and close on it. If you don't, we do offer extensions, but there are other tribal members out there who could utilize the funds. So we can't have the grants out there lingering for 8 months if we have other tribal members who are ready to purchase.
If the individual or family don't have the credit rating, is there somebody that you guys can refer them to help them to build their credit up?
That's actually something that Melissa O'Brien is working on currently. She did organize the last mortgage homeowners class, and she's intending on having another one. But absolutely, that's something that we're working with a few people who offer classes. We're working, just trying to find what's a good fit for our tribal citizens to refer them. So maybe we can do a few more door prizes. We have some more grocery cards and maybe the gift basket. So first we will do a AMP gift card. Yes. Talk to Melissa or Marna. So maybe Lloyd will do the honors of pulling out tickets. Diane Willard. So we are going to do the basket that we received from Simply Bellas. That is Alberta Shields. Okay, so moving on to the Elder Energy Assistant. This is another program that we have had in our housing department for a while. This offers $700 annually to qualified elders to help out with their utilities or energy. You have to be income eligible, income qualified to apply, and it is annual. That's correct. 1 year. They have a question back there. Oh, yes. It is based off of when you apply. So if you apply in February, you can apply again in February. If you've applied already this calendar year, then you'll have to wait till January 2024. And Sharon, are you a homeowner? So currently, right now, we've opened up a program as of yesterday that will help out with utilities and energy. It's a different program. It's Treasury Homeowners Assistance Funds, and that will help out with that problem. If you want to either talk to Sherry in the back, again, Sherry, I'm creating lots of work for you. And yes. And yes, and that's on our Facebook page as well. That's called the Treasury Homeowners Assistance Fund. We opened it yesterday. Okay, so moving on. Oh, yes, sorry. Yes. And that is, Lloyd is asking about the income qualifications, and that was on the first slide. That is HUD standards for what they set the guidelines for income qualifications, which these are 2023 2024 is not available yet, but we will post that as soon as it is. Now, the program I was just talking about, the half treasury funds, they have a different income qualification. So there is different because it's treasury and it's a lot more generous. So please look into that online or on our website because it is an amazing program. Okay, so emergency home repair rebuild due to disaster. So we've had to create this program because unfortunately, in the last few years, we've had quite a few home fires. We have been working on different programs to prevent this, really increasing fire prevention, wanting to offer smoke detectors, CO2 alarms, but also electrical wiring. But in case there is a home fire or a different disaster, we want to be prepared. That way we have immediately funds available to house someone. We have funds available that we can buy groceries for this displaced person. Also, if they are needing some assistance and rebuilding, for instance, if insurance doesn't cover the whole rebuild, then we're able to assist and help out with that. Yes, Lloyd?
With insurance, maybe we need to look into some classes about insurance. I know there's been some issues about insurance. Some of our people don't understand it on replacement value or assessed value. So, that's one of those things that we should probably be looking into as a department. Make sure that our tribal members that own homes and have insurance, that they have the appropriate insurance for their house.
I absolutely agree with that. And Lloyd is just saying that we should have informational classes just to make our tribal citizens aware of the different types of insurance and that we are all going to be able to cover what it is if we were to have a disaster and lose our home. I just want to mention also the Treasury Half program that I've mentioned a few times also can do insurance. There are funding set aside, so if you know anyone, you don't have home insurance, then I think definitely come see us and we'll get you set up for that. Next, we have homeowners assistance, and you're not really able to see the second line because it's white on the light blue, but it does say up to 2,500 mortgage, elder, or energy assistance. So homeowners is basically like a rental assistance, but for homeowners. So if we have a tribal citizen who has experienced a temporary hardship, this program will be able to temporarily help them. We can pay for your mortgage up to $2,000. We can do this 4 times a year. And we also want to be able to help with energy up to $500, 4 times a year as well. The annual budget for this homeowners assistance is $40,000. Rental deposit energy assistance. So this is also up to $2,500 for rental energy assistance. This will help a tribal citizen living in the Ketchikan area service area with their rent up to 4 times a year. Also with deposits, electric deposits, and energy assistance. This annual budget is $80,000. Yes, Norman.
When the COVID hit, the federal government applied funding for those that were struggling to with paying their rent. A lot of them were getting booted out because they got so far behind on their rent. But what's happened now, and I don't know if it's happened here in Ketchikan, but those landlords are robbing the low-income people blind where they can't afford to pay that rent anymore. So they're out on the streets. And it's really surprising to me that the homeowners association or the federal government will not step in and not allow them, because for a 1-bedroom, I'm not misunderstood or understanding, is that they're paying $1,600 a month. It's increased to the point where you can't afford to live in a one-bedroom apartment anymore. And from what I understand, during the summer months, those landlords rent to a lot of those people that come in from the lower 48 to work in Alaska during the tourist season. Well, they now load it. I don't know how about Ketchikan, but now they rent those apartments out 6 months at a time. So does that mean, do I rent an apartment and when 6 months are up, I got to move out? I don't know. But it's something that we got to, not only the borough, but also the city council should address, because they're the ones that control how these things operate. Thank you.
Thank you, Norman. I absolutely agree, and I believe that is also on the agenda of the borough and the city and discussion for amongst them as well. But that is an issue. Another thing we're running into often right now is the owners are selling. So we have families or individuals that come to us and they're being evicted just because the owner is selling. They don't want to deal with renting any longer, and through no fault of their own, they will soon be homeless. They will soon be without a home and expected to try and find an apartment or a home in Ketchikan as it is. So that is another thing that we've noticed that is a problem right now. Student housing voucher program. So this one is $2,000 to individual grants available per tribal member annually. The budget is $40,000. This program assists with both full-time and part-time students to help with their academic progress. And this program was not being utilized the last 2 years, but this year we've really done a great job with our communications department, Nisha, and getting this out there. And it's actually, we've had a lot of success, and we're really happy about this program. Yes.
Is it for district that going to school here, or if they're going to school south or north too?
So this is our only Nahasa program where you actually have to be a KIC tribal member, because you will not be living, most likely you might not be living here. So to go ahead and capture, like any tribe, we had to limit that. But yes, that is to anywhere if you're a KIC tribal member.
This is the one that I think, and I remember, this is one my son's going through down there in Washington, because he's going to school down there, and I sent him this information. So it's helping him a lot.
It actually is. If we had more funds, I would love to be able to put more into this program. But as Gloria Burns had mentioned earlier, if we have a program that's in high demand and it's been fully utilized and there are no more funds, then the housing department can go to tribal council and let them know that we would like to do a budget modification and add additional funds. I mean, if we have a program that's being utilized to its fullest, that is great news. If we have the student housing vouchers that are being utilized fullest, that is amazing news. So we have our students out there going to school, or adults, and needing that extra assistance to help with their academic progress. Thank you. Home Safety Fire Program. So this program right here, we're able to go into units and or their homes, and we're able to do inspection. We started this program because of the home fires that Ketchikan and our tribal citizens have been experiencing in the last few years. We are in partnership with the fire department. We are our maintenance supervisor in the department. His name is Kurt Key. He's been working on that partnership. He works closely with them. He's very proud of this program. We, of course, would like to do more, and we will continue to grow this program. Yes, Norman.
Who do contact fire testing?
You can contact Kurt Key, or you can contact Sherry Blair, and she can get that set up for you. Absolutely. Our front desk. Yes, we're all located at 429, yeah. Emergency housing assistance. This individual amounts will vary, but the annual budget is $40,000. This program was created for COVID, for quarantining, and it's been found that it's actually a useful program to keep around and incorporate into our annual budget. So if someone is experiencing a hardship or frozen pipes, if they have a medical situation where they come back from surgery from Anchorage and they're not able to walk up their steps. You know, there's different situations, but we can offer up to 14 days in a hotel or similar arrangements for a tribal citizen who might be going through that sort of situation. Yes, ma'am.
That was an awesome program when we had a flood in my neighborhood, and I came out the door, the cops knocked at my door. They said you have to evacuate, and then housing was already in front of my house, and they came and told me, go up to Cape Fox, we have a room for you. It's awesome.
Thank you, Mara. We appreciate that. So now we're on to permanent supportive housing, which we have named Igayaquan. Igayaquan is a Singat name, and it means be strong and have courage. It also means that you have your clan behind you. Your clan, your people are holding you up. So permanent supportive housing is a model of housing that connects residents with people and community and offers services. So the idea of permanent supportive housing is that we have those services on site that connect you. We have services such as case management, that we have budget, we have where you can connect to other resources. So our permanent supportive housing, which I call the Igayaquan, the annual budget is $27,000 right now. That's to support contract services for this program. Right now, it is 16 efficiency units and 4 one-bedrooms. This is going to be targeting elders who have been experiencing chronic homelessness. So for this program, we are applying for a funding called GOAL. It's Greater Opportunity for Affordable Living. It's administered through Alaska Housing Finance Corporation. That application is due in about 2 weeks, and we have been working nonstop on it we applied last year, and we're applying again this year. So it's been about around 2 years. Yes, Christine. So Igayaquan will be on the same lot as the Galley property, but in the back there's a warehouse. So the demo that got mentioned earlier for the warehouse, that's for that property. So we will be tearing down the warehouse and building this. So the application is due in two weeks. This is to Alaska Housing Finance Corporation. It will house chronically homeless elders. So we are going to take in the elders that are struggling the most. We will not say no. We are going to take in the elders who are having the most trouble, the most issues, and we'll house them here. There's going to be a locked door in the front. So it is not a situation where our residents will be able to have guests coming and going. There will also be a reception area, a receptionist. So when you come in and you want to visit your friend, there will be an area where you can visit. There will be an area where you can still meet with your family. There will be an area where we can have drumming and we can make our traditional regalia. But it will not be a building that's open to just anyone who wants to walk in. There will be key cards, and there will be 24/7 staff at Igayaquan. During our
I want to just take a moment and give kudos to the staff that work on housing. They have meetings upwards of 7 times a week where they're getting together with Cook Inlet and different property managers, trying to plan out what those services could look like, trying to figure out who will be the trauma-informed people, who will do the training, how to make sure that everybody's safe, how we're going to go ahead and talk to the people who will be living in these units to make sure that they are built exactly the way those people want, and how we're going to address the social and emotional needs of people who are chronically homeless due to mental health disorder issues, due to substance abuse disorder issues, due to just having completely given up. And so I think that it's really important to note that, you know, while they're administering all these other things, for 2 years, every day, they get on calls, sometimes upwards of 7 times a week, talking to people and trying to figure out how to make this the most amazing, successful project so that we can build another one, and then another one, and then another one. The idea being is dealing first with our chronic homeless elders, and then looking at families that are struggling, and then looking at maybe reunifying with foster care and all those different ways, how you're going to address what that looks like. And so they're working with Cook Inlet Tribal Council and who are, you know, really putting together this goal application for us. And it was really hard when we found out in December last year that we did not get this project. And so they're doing everything to get this project this year, and they're going to keep going until we build that building. We named it, it's going to exist, and they just want to make sure that it is something that can grow on itself. And so I just think that Myrna and Melissa and Aaron and everybody, all the housing staff, really deserve a round of applause for the work that they're doing. Okay. You know, we listed as our top 2 strategic priorities dealing with multi-generational housing and coming up with solutions for the homeless situation that we had. And they didn't walk away from that. They said, we're actually going to supersize it and we're going to be the solution. And so I just want to say that everybody appreciates the hard work you're doing, even though you don't get to see your kids anymore.
Thank you. And I believe, Christy, were you have? Yeah. Okay. And then Norman, or Willard, I'm sorry, and then Sharon.
Oh, yeah. I like the strong words, Ketchikan. 1968, turned 21, I was heading to Vietnam. My mother was still alive, Trottier, Esther. And we had float planes, rum and gooses that we had to get aboard, go to Mount Macatla to ride the flight south. And my mother brought me down to the airport. My father had to stay up on the ramp, couldn't come down. My mother had the last words to her son. When she sat me on that rum and goose, the pilot was outside the plane, putting us in the plane, and he stopped my mother. He says, "You can't go aboard." She said, "I want to go aboard. I want to say my last words to my son. He's going to Vietnam." He pulled everybody off the plane and let me and my mother go on board. That's exactly what she said. Ketchikan, to be strong, be a man of courage, go in a straight line. I'll never forget that. Those are very strong words. Looking forward to seeing this place. I'm not going in there.
You might get groups there.
Tribal events that are going on here, the information having it can't happen, and I'm really excited about it.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Our department appreciates it. Yes, it is. The first story is going to have the entrance and office space for the workers. There's going to be a large flex room, washers, dryers on the bottom floor. The kitchen, which isn't going to be, it's not going to be a commercial kitchen, but the intention is next door at the navigation center, we will have those food services. But you will be able to make a small light meal. Then the second and third floor are the one bedrooms and the efficiencies. And Norman?
Thank you, Mr. Meeting. Started getting involved in wanting to build homes for tribal members. If you're well aware, the city council and the Ketchikan Gateway Borough wanted to. You can't hear me? I'm talking about. Anyway, what I was getting at, Katie, was the fact that both the borough and the city have wanted to tax our property. Will this be taxed?
With the borough, it's called the PIL, pilot program, payment in lieu of taxes. So it's an agreement we work out with them and pay a percentage. So it's not the same formula that's used, but we do pay a certain percentage on all our property. And you know, I believe this is going to discussion. There's been a recent discussion that I've been a part of that is going to the table, but I really can't talk on that right now as far as it's not my department. If it's under the housing act, and it is exempted. Thank you for that information. Oh, okay. Well, thank you for that information. The native, and they just determination. And then Gloria
just mentioned that people go leases that they're fully lease.
Gloria just wanted me to mention that the residents at they will be tenants. They will have their own lease. They will have their own rules and regulations that they'll have to abide by. And so they won't be staying. They will be paying 30% of their rent. And they are actual tenants. And in going with that, I believe Sharon Munry mentioned earlier about how long it takes for someone to get used to having their own place, and that does take a while. We've learned with the PSH projects, we've worked with Beau Simone, their consultants, and we've worked with them on the different PSH projects. It takes a while for someone to feel comfortable in their own place, for them to feel comfortable enough to sleep without thinking that they will be assaulted or they will be robbed. So it does take time for that. Yes, Tim.
Do you have a expected amount of units to be filled right away?
So part of LIHTC, where a majority of the funding comes from LIHTC, that's low-income housing tax credits. And part of it is, one condition is they always have to be filled. They do. So we will be working off of our housing list, but also there is tribal preference, and I imagine they will be filled constantly and immediately.
Say you don't have all the units filled, will you open it up to other individuals or families that are in need?
So it is 80%. 80% have to be filled by tribal or not tribal members, but 80% have to be filled by individuals who are 65 and older. So the remaining unit, there is flexibility. And we do have the one-bedroom units, with keeping that in mind, because so Alaska Housing Finance Corporation, we're now going into several different funding sources, and there's different compliance and rules that go with each funding source. So you can't house, a 4-person family in a 1-bedroom. So we have to abide by those rules. But by making some 1-bedrooms, it'll be a lot more flexible, and we're going to be able to exactly do what you're mentioning in that helping with a family or a couple who comes to us in need and has that need. Gloria.
I guess I wanted to mention that it's a LIHTC project. So one of the ways you can get in trouble with a LIHTC project is if they're not 100% housed all the time. So that's why the policy will be written to be tribal preference first, and then it'll go down through the other populations. But you have to, because you're making a promise to a bank. The bank is fronting the money for this, for us to be able to do the project. And you have to promise for 10 years that you will keep it completely full no matter what. And so you so you have to do that. The other big component of this is because you pay 30% of your housing, what we apply for is we apply for project-based grants, vouchers. And those vouchers will pay 100% of the without home population's rent in that space. And then we can take that money, because it'll be at a fair market value, and we can use that money for maintenance on the buildings and to build new buildings, right? So we'll get 100% of that if we get those project-based vouchers. So we have to apply for a lot of things, and we have to have a separate property manager who manages it to make sure that we follow all the rules that are associated with the LIHTC program. And so we'll build it, and then we'll have to train people and get somebody else to administer all that paperwork so that every year we can maintain and keep that property until the 11th year after the LIHTC. Is it 11 or 15? 15, at the 15th year.
I could see. Okay, well, I'm gonna.
Apartment complex out by Pond Mountain, that's under the same program. Yeah.
Oh, yes, Liz. No, one day.
I guess my comment would be caregivers. Caregivers. Possibility for them to come in with staff already available in the building.
Are you asking?
I'm asking you.
So, it would not be a caregiver situation. There will be 24-hour staff available on site at this building.
I guess what I'm trying to say here is myself, I had the doctor come and see me. I was so sick. Came right in from KIC, very first time. Yes. Family friends that got coming up time. Is that something that we can look at in this facility in the future? Because most of these caregivers you're having there maintaining the building, they're not in that field, ma'am.
So I were writing down your comments, and Melissa would like to answer that question or the comment.
Yes. So one of the problems that we have when people are homeless is that they do not qualify for Medicaid waiver services. So if you are homeless and you are on the streets, you don't qualify for in-home care services. This, by providing a home, somebody would qualify for those services. So they wouldn't be able to necessarily have space for a 24-hour caregiver, but the units will be designed with universal design. So they're being designed for elders. They're being designed for people that need assistance in their home. The idea is for them to age in place, and then they can qualify for those services. They can qualify for somebody to come in and check on them, make sure they're doing okay, help them with chore and respite services, because then they have a home to qualify for those services. Whereas when they're unhoused, they do not. They don't qualify for those services. So that's part of it.
I understand that. Totally understand that. VA side of it, and we have veterans on the street. VA side is a voucher form you can apply for homelessness. I'm still going to beat this thing to death about a caregiver. Caregivers are needed in any field, regardless if they're homeless or not. They receive Medicaid, Medicare. That's a given. That's where I'm going with that. Is there a possibility in the future that may be able to happen? Because some of the elders are sicker than you think they are. Thank you.
Absolutely, everything is, and we're writing that down. I'm gonna talk with Melissa about that, and like I said before, we are taking all the comments and questions, and we will be discussing it with tribal council. So thank you for bringing this. Yes. And Tim.
So a few years ago, I moved into my mom's apartment at the elder housing up on Halibut Street, right across from the Clinton House in Saxton. And her health wasn't doing too well. And after doing some cleaning, I found mold areas coming through the walls and coming up from the floors. It turned out that it was a plumbing issue. The insulation fell off apart from the copper piping, underneath the floor and through the walls. So it's creating a health issue for her. Now, she wasn't able to move into the new apartment because she was slightly below the income requirement, even though she's still able to pay the 30%, but they didn't qualify her. And now me as moving in as her caregiver, they allowed us to move into that place. Then that made me qualify as well as a homeless veteran. Is there going to be instances where people are turned away that kind of fall in that category? Like, if my mom wanted to move in there, but she didn't make the minimum requirement of the income, is there like assistance that can be provided to help supplement that? It might have been just like $25 or $100. I don't know.
So you're saying that she didn't qualify because she didn't make the minimum requirement for like an annual. Okay, I see. So for our KIC programs, we don't have a minimum requirement. We don't have like that. We do want our tenants to make at least or have $150 a month, and that's solely for them to be able to pay for their electricity. So, and that also, we do have assistance programs in our programs. So we would work with someone who came in with that. Now, if you're asking specifically about Ketchikan, there is no minimum that will be required for this facility either. If there was, then we would work on, as an unmet need, we would work on that. We would look at policy, we would look at programs, we would look at funding to try and create that gap so that we would be able to offer that assistance and help the tribal members. That's Gloria.
So when visiting other permanent supportive housing units that have to do with homeless, there was a huge conversation regarding support pets and homeless not being willing to leave their pets on the street. Has any plan been made to address people who are homeless who have animals, and what will that look like?
So that really has not been addressed too much right now. We do have to follow guidelines. So in keeping with the structure, we would have to follow their guidelines. But we are talking about having at the navigation center a place for people to bring their pets. So there would be a place available there where their pets could be, because of that issue, that the emotional support of how we have stories that someone would rather buy them their dog food rather than feed themselves, because that's how much they mean to them. So we have heard these stories, and we do know that animals are a huge part in someone's health and well-being, their mental health. So at the Navigation Center, we've talked about having a place for animals to stay at that location. Yes. Thank you. Yes, Valerie.
Making the they're making for the people have to be in a circle type thing so that they can go all the way around. Like in this place is the hallway down the middle, because in elder homes they're talking about now to have it a continuous thing so that when they get older they don't go down to the end of a hallway and it ends. They go endlessly around in a circle. So it's open-ended. And they, you know, like they do in hospitals, and they keep it open-ended. There been any thought gone into that?
So we have not, but we are working with MRV Architects. They're based in Juneau, and we really wanted to work with them because they're trauma-informed architects.
Could you bring that up?
Like
The circle, the circle.
yes, we can bring that.
Instead of going, if people get old, and a lot of dementia sensitive that people. Instead of having to go into the end of a hallway and turning around and coming back, it's a continuous circle, and they in more folks.
Okay, yes, definitely. We're writing your comment down, and we can bring that up. Absolutely. Yes, Tim.
I really like the place that my mom's at now. However, she doesn't have a yard, and I don't know how many other people here in our community like to, you know, grow their own maybe herbs or spices or something or vegetables. It gives them something to do. It helps with keeping them mobile. Is there a possibility that they get like a indoor garden? Container gardens are great too. You know, there's so many things I've been watching, you know, them all on Facebook pop out. They're really easy to maintain. It'd be really great if our community had, you know, something like that.
So at this facility, the green space that you see over to the right at the bottom is pretty much all that we're able to get at this property. But in thinking of the future, we're dreaming big, and we love that. We've thought about greenhouses. I know that social services is working with different agencies around town for community gardens. We love that idea. The idea of being able to grow fresh vegetables that a community member or a resident is able to go and pick from is an amazing idea. So thank you for that comment. Hi, Marie. I have to get help actually that I was gone so that it would be possible. It was helping the family and helping that time. That'd be something like that. A program or services like that. Yeah, because I didn't let both my daughters and my son fall. Thank you for that comment. That's definitely something that we can talk about, and we're documenting that. Gloria?
Yeah. So one of the things I guess I really want to point out is this is going to be we all have a family member that we see living on the street right now, right? They're elderly. One of the things that when we were doing research that we found out was that the majority is 70% of the people who move into this, it'll be the last place that they live. And the statistics were about another 30% will go ahead and find another place to live because it won't be the ideal situation for them, and they'll get on their feet. And so one of the things we found out from all the research we did and the places that we went to is it will be absolutely full before it's built. And there will be a waiting list twice as long as the amount of rooms that we have in it. And so while Myrna and her team are going to build this building, they will not be managing this building. They'll get it done, they'll get it set up, they'll get the right people in place, another department or group sub part of their department will take it over, and then they're going to go build another building. is the plan. So right now, you know, they're looking at that, and a lot of it's going to go on in this building is going to be based upon the population that will live there. So they'll be having meetings with the without home population about what is trauma informed to them, what makes them feel safe, what do they want, and ideally, this is not the ideal building that housing and the housing department looked at originally. The Macaw people have a longhouse style building where you can meet in the middle and sing and dance, and there's tons of green space, and you look into this courtyard, and you're spending all this time as a community. We had that property, and one of the things we found out when we were researching is people who are homeless, without home, when they get a home, they feel really guilty about leaving their people behind on the street. And so one of the major problems were when you separated the navigation portion from the housing. And that's why instead of a green space, there's a navigation center on the front of the property and the permanent supportive housing on the back. Is because we recognize that there are people who have been homeless that are people for 20 years, and they're going to feel guilty about getting to live in this home, and they're going to want to be able to meet with their friends in this alternative space. But we are looking for properties, they're looking for properties constantly, and that is the ideal, is a place for permanent supportive, you know, for pets that, you know, so they don't have to leave them, with lots of green and growing space that you can do cultural activities in the center. And this is going to be beautiful, and we're excited about it, but if you have an opportunity to look up the Macaw project, that's really what inspired everybody originally, was this idea. And so you're aware. I really want you guys to look up it, and that's the next phase after you build this one.
So I'm just wondering if we should do a few more door prizes.
Yes.
So if we could share, if we could do 2 more AMP cards and the heater. And maybe Gianna will draw for a ticket for us. And we'll start with a AMP grocery card for $150. Going one. Sharon, thanks. So next we'll be doing a heater, and if you could find someone to draw that ticket for you. And this is for a heater that we have in the back, and the back gallery family. Well, no one's here. Jack is still here. And Dawn, we can go ahead and do one more for the last AMP grocery card. If you could find someone. Oh, Gloria's going
Living Ball.
Yay, Lily Ball. Okay. Congratulations. Okay, so first Hamilton would like to comment or question. I'm going to go ahead and bring the microphone to her.
I had to make reach my voice box, so I'd like to just take this opportunity to say that in one day I will be in my apartment 3 years and 3 days. I'm extremely happy. I've never been as happy as I am. I applaud everybody that worked hard. I know there's not enough for everybody, was time will tell and take care of the people who need it. The only thing that I want and I desire very much is more Kurt.
We need more help. Some more support in the housing unit department.
Thank you for appreciating that. I believe we are almost done. We're getting ready, close to being complete. Oh, yes, Sharon.
I didn't know where to ask you, but I want
And that is through, I believe, the social services department, and we can reach out to find out the status of that program. But I believe that it's an ongoing program. Social services. Yes, thank you. Yes, Tim.
Several years ago, I was looking into alternative energy for the house, but I come to find out that Ketchikan city limits has they don't allow, solar power or wind power. But BIC can open up that table again and try and get like places like this, run off of solar power. I know we don't have a whole lot of sun, but Germany's able to do it, and they get about as much sunlight as we do. And that would help maybe reduce the amount of need for energy assistance for people in need.
Right. Thank you. And I know Melissa is writing down your comment right now, but also with Alaska Housing Finance Corporation, we do have to build to 6-star plus for energy rating. So that's a requirement that we do need to have energy efficient units when we're building. And that is a requirement for the funding. But we always are looking at new ways for energy. That's absolutely a great comment. Thank you. Okay, so next we have the Woodland Triplex. The Woodland Triplex these are funds we've already been awarded by ICBDG, which is Indian Community Development Block Grant, American Rescue Plan. We received $974,000. We're building a triplex on Woodland. Right now we are working on the environmental review, and then we put the project out to bid with construction complete by the end of the summer of 2024. This building will have a 3-bedroom, a 2-bedroom, and a 1-bedroom. This is Shawtween and Azure Summit. These are 2 existing parcels of land that KFC Housing owns at the very top of Jackson Street. The lower picture right here shows the location. Lot 7 is now called Azure Summit, and the other lot is called Shawtween. And the picture over here is Shawtween, but plotted out, subdivided of what kind of housing could be possible. What could be possible for us to build there. Currently, right now, we cannot build without water infrastructure. Right now, all of our energy is gearing towards grants for water infrastructure. We have applied for an ICBDG competitive. Again, ICBDG is Indian Development Community Block Grant competitive. We applied for that just recently in October for a water reservoir. Then the next week, the BIA Climate Resiliency Grant was due, and we applied for a water reservoir and road development for that grant as well. And that's all for getting water infrastructure on these 2 plots of land so we can develop new housing. We also have transportation funds that are going to assist with that road design so we can build housing up there on the hill. Yes, I have quite a few questions. So we'll start with Christy. So this water, the
the water pressure will go is right here, or no, right here on this building at KRC Housing. So we own that. It will not go any further, and we have a lot of problems with the water pressure there. I believe the minimum amount of water pressure that you we're allowed to have is either 20 psi. It could be 40, but everyone likes 60. So if we get any lower than that, it's just not. It's going to be a problem. So we will not be able to exist into our get into the existing. Really.
When we speak out, it's Lincoln. That name was brought to our table as a tribal council by Joel Lodger, which his name is on Lodger Summit. Those of you that knew Joel Lodger, he was a great housing manager. Great loss when we lost him, regardless of how we lost him. He was very good at housing. I'll never forget when we first moved up there. Joint venture with Clinton Ida. Then Sam Bergeron was our president. It was a great project. Looking forward to that new one going in there. Pleasure Summit. We discussed it. We were working on that. It was $1 million at the time to plumb that. It's probably doubled since then. City. That's all glacier movement. That's mud. That's why they had to barricade it out. Glacier came through there. But I really appreciate Joel Lodger's homework when he came to the tribe. My brother and I happened to be on the tribal council at the time. The question was where the name came from. And boy, my chest just popped out there. Glad to see a good, strong name on there. Big mouth. Thank you.
Thank you, Willard. Were there any other questions for Jocelyn or Azure Summit? Okay, moving on. We are complete with our Indian housing plan. We want to do 2 more door prices, and if there is food left over, we brought to go containers for everyone to take a snack home. But let's go ahead and finish up. Oh, Tim, yes?
Overcrowding in the home, which presents fire hazard as well as pest control issues, more places for them to hide. Would KIC be interested in a business of building a storage unit and providing assistance for those that need it? Because I don't know how many call lodges and doings that I've been to where I have so many. We get gifts and stuff that they're really good, but we can't use them all the time. We can't use the summer stuff or the winter stuff. So we got to put them somewhere, but we run out of that storage space. Oftentimes, we need blankets in the house. There's that, and also what happens with the unused funds in the budgets? Roll over, they add to the next year. We have 20,000 this year for this. Will we have 25,000 because we didn't use 5,000 last year, or will they put it towards another program?
So thank you, and Tim is just asking about having storage space available for tribal members, and that if it's a for-profit, that's something that we possibly can bring up to the business corporation and just write down the idea and let them know that it's something that tribal members and citizens are interested in. We definitely want to bring that to their attention. For the unused housing funds, it does go into our basically our unused housing funds, and we can reallocate that. It doesn't turn into any other color of money for housing. It stays the same color. That's where we would go to tribal council if a program ran out of funds and we saw a great need for it, we would go to tribal council and request that, for additional funds to be added to that program from our unused previous housing funds. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and do a door prize, and oh, there's my lovely helper, Dolly. I made this for the Crazy Wolf. Crazy Wolf, and looks like Gloria will draw the ticket. Somebody Gloria's ticket for Crazy Wolf. Is a mattress. We have a queen size mattress that we are raffling off, and that will go to Merle Hawkins. I appreciate everyone's comments and questions this evening. I'm excited that you're excited. Your energy will keep me renewed and make sure that we want to keep going and pushing for our tribal members and getting that housing built. So thank you very much, Hala, for coming. If you have a comment, please put it on the table and we'll go ahead and combine